In today's Talk of the Heartland, spend part of next weekend learning about U.S. history in the Heartland. Civil War weekend returns to Union County on Friday and Saturday, February 27th to 28th at Shawnee Hills Arts Council in Anna. Things kick off Friday with Blue and Gray Dinner fundraiser. Reservations are $25. Then on Saturday, there will be a day of free presentations and exhibits for the public. Now, Lee Hackney is here to tell us a little bit more about this weekend. Walk me through the weekend. What's the timeline here?
Well, it's really kind of interesting because people ask, why do we do the Civil War? And people don't realize that we were really a group of independent states, and not until the Civil War did it really become, at the end of that, a united front. And Lincoln said it best, hey, we cannot endure as a free state, slavery, we're going to fall, but this nation's not going to fall. I see it coming together and being unified. So Friday, we kick it off with Betsy Brown as the speaker. She's going to talk about General John A. Logan and his beliefs prior to the Civil War, how he was pro-slavery, and then as the Civil War started, his views changed, and they're going to talk about the dynamics. Betsy Brown's a very dynamic speaker. She's the president of the board for John A. Logan Museum, and so that'll be a really exciting event. Plus, we have some exhibits. On Saturday, everything's free, and we kick off with speakers. Our four speakers are Robert Weeks, an SIU Carbondale retired, and he was the founder of the Civil War Roundtable in Cape here. So that's really good. He's going to talk about General Sherman, Genius or Mad, and his famous March to the Sea. So that's really fun, kicking off at 9. The second one at 10:15 is done by Doda Starkey. She's the regent for Daniel Chapman Chapter, National Society of Daughters of American Revolution, and she's also the state historian in the past for that. She's going to talk about the special ops, the forerunners, the Jesse Brown, Jesse group, the Mosby group, the Blazer group, and how they were the forefronters. So that'll be interesting. The next speaker is Ed Annable. He's written quite a few books, but his topic is the Copperheads in Southern Illinois. And that'll be really interesting because most people want to say it was a Union state, but we really had a lot of people from the South that came in, and that there was a lot of Copperheads doing their thing behind the scenes. The last speaker is going to be me, and I'm going to talk about the spies, the women spies that were in the Civil War, and that's always fun. The focus will be on Belle Boyd, a Confederate spy, but it's all interesting. Now, our exhibits are great. We've got reenactors that are going to present their guns and different ammunitions. I've got 2 that are doing that, but they also have exhibits from the different battlefields. And then we also have Maureen Rivero that will be doing an exhibit on slavery and that arena and what's going on. Pat Brum always has something from the Union County Historical Society that he'll bring down. So it's just a fun day. Now, I'll be remiss because on Sunday, the Heritage House in Jonesboro by Past will be doing a talk. Daryl Dexter will actually talk about the use of the Illinois Central Railroad, and that'll start at 2 p.m. The house will open up at 1:30 to 3:30. They've got some great exhibits and a wonderful quilt on the Underground Railroad. So it's going to be a fun-packed weekend and a great opportunity to learn a little history along the way.
Well, that sounds great. We can't wait for that. And if you want to learn more about this, Civil War weekend is happening February 27th and 28th in Anna, Illinois. There will be dinner, exhibits, and presentations about U.S. history right here in the Heartland. We have all of this information right now at KFES12.com. Heartland Afternoon continues after the break.